Did you know that over 60% of people who eat beets are unknowingly negating their key benefits? Even worse, some might be turning this superfood into a ticking time bomb for their health. Sounds like an exaggeration? That's exactly what happened to Mr. Johnson, one of my 50. He religiously started drinking a glass of beet juice every morning, convinced he was doing the best thing for his blood pressure. 3 months later, he returned to my office with sky-high blood sugar and intestinal discomfort that kept him up at night. "Doctor, I was just trying to be healthy," he said, confused and frustrated. The truth? Beets are indeed a nutritional treasure trove, rich in antioxidants, iron, fiber, and nitrates that can transform your cardiovascular health, improve your physical performance, and even help prevent serious disease. But there's a world of difference between just eating beets and actually reaping their real benefits. Today, I'm going to reveal the 7 critical mistakes almost everyone makes when eating beets. Mistakes that may be sabotaging your health and wasting your money without you even realizing. And more importantly, I'll show you how to correct each one of them, turning this ruby root into a true ally against diseases like diabetes, hypertension, inflammation, and even certain types of cancer. I'm Dr. Alexander King, a specialist in functional nutrition and your partner on the journey to real health. Mistake number 1, overcooking beets. Let me explain what happens when you subject this vegetable to long boils or very high temperatures. Beets are rich in compounds called betalains, substances that give them that characteristic ruby color and are responsible for much of this food's anti-inflammatory and antioxidant power. Recent studies from the University of California, Davis have shown that when you cook beets for more than 15 minutes in boiling water, you lose approximately 40% of these betalains. It's like literally throwing money down the drain, as these compounds are water-soluble and end up in the cooking water, which most people discard. In addition, prolonged heat destroys much of the beet's natural nitrates, precisely the compounds that help relax blood vessels, improve circulation, and can reduce blood pressure by up to 10 mmHg, according to research from the University of Exeter in England. I'll share the case of Mrs. Miller, 62, who suffered from persistent high blood pressure. She ate boiled beets for 30 minutes 3 times a week, believing she was doing the right thing. When we simply adjusted the preparation method to steaming for 7 to 10 minutes, her blood pressure stabilized significantly in just 1 month. Ideally, steam the beets for a maximum of 15 minutes until they are soft enough to pierce with a fork, or bake them in foil in the oven, a method that preserves many more nutrients. Even better, eat them raw, grated in salads or juices when possible. Do you usually cook beets for more than 15 minutes? Have you ever tried eating them raw or baked instead of boiled? Mistake number 2, discarding beet greens. Beet greens, the ones most people discard without a second thought, contain up to 3 times more nutrients than the root everyone knows. To give you an idea, 3.5 ounces, 100 grams of beet greens contain 4.2 milligrams of iron, while the same amount of the root provides only 0.81 milligrams. That's more than a 500% difference. The greens are also extremely rich in vitamin K, essential for blood clotting and bone health, with almost 400% of the daily recommendation in just half a cup. What many don't know is that these greens are exceptional sources of magnesium and potassium, essential minerals for blood pressure control and cardiovascular health. A study from the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, has shown that regular consumption of leafy greens, including beet greens, is associated with a reduction of up to 15% in the risk of developing cardiovascular diseases. I remember Mr. Williams, 67, who suffered from intense and frequent nighttime cramps. After including sauté beet greens in his diet twice a week, the cramps practically disappeared in 30 days, a result of the extra magnesium and potassium he started receiving. How to enjoy them? The greens can be sautéed like any vegetable, added to omelets, soups, or even processed in green juices along with the beet itself. The flavor is mild and somewhat resembles spinach, combining perfectly with garlic and olive oil. So, do you usually buy beets with the greens still attached? Have you ever tried including them in a recipe? Share your experience in the comments. Mistake number 3, mixing with ingredients that negate their benefit. Many people add honey, sugar, or agave syrup to soften the earthy taste of beets. The problem? Beets naturally contain about 7 to 9% sugars. When you add more sugar, you're creating a glycemic bomb that can cause insulin spikes and increase inflammation in the body, negating precisely the anti-inflammatory effect you're seeking when eating this vegetable. Another frequent mistake is mixing beets with cow's milk or dairy products. The oxalates present in beets can bind to the calcium in milk, forming complexes that make it difficult to absorb both nutrients and, in predisposed people, can increase the risk of kidney stone formation. In my office, I recently saw Mrs. Davis, 54, who suffered from recurrent kidney stones. We discovered that her habit of drinking a beet smoothie with yogurt every morning was contributing significantly to her problem. By separating the consumption of these foods with at least 2 hours of interval, her exams showed considerable improvement. How to do it correctly? For juices and smoothies, prefer to combine beets with lemon, which helps with iron absorption and reduces the formation of oxalates, ginger, or acidic fruits like pineapple. Avoid artificial sweeteners and added sugars. If necessary, use a small amount of dates or ripe banana to sweeten naturally. Have you ever felt any discomfort after eating beets with dairy? What's your favorite combination for beet juices? Mistake number 4, eating at the wrong time. The problem is that the natural sugars in beets, without the presence of fiber, in the case of strained juices, and proteins to slow down their absorption, can cause significant blood sugar spikes on an empty stomach, especially problematic for those predisposed to diabetes or insulin resistance. On the other hand, eating beets at night, close to bedtime, can be beneficial for some people and problematic for others. The nitrates in beets, converted to nitric oxide in the body, can improve sleep quality by relaxing blood vessels. However, in people with reflux or slow digestion, nighttime consumption can cause gastric discomfort and disrupt sleep. The case of Mr. Johnson, which I mentioned at the beginning, illustrates this problem well. He drank his beet juice every morning on an empty stomach and then went straight to a breakfast rich in refined carbohydrates. The result was significant blood sugar dysregulation in just 3 months. The ideal timing? For most people, the best time to eat beets is about 30 minutes before physical activities. The nitrates improve performance and muscle oxygenation, or as part of balanced meals that contain protein and good fats, which help slow down the absorption of sugars. For those who play sports, a study from the University of Exeter showed that drinking 17 ounces, 500 milliliters of beet juice 2 to 3 hours before exercise can improve performance by up to 16%, thanks to increased nitric oxide production and consequent improvement in muscle oxygenation. What time of day do you usually eat beets? Have you noticed any difference in your well-being or energy depending on the time of consumption? Mistake number 5, overdoing the quantity. A study from the Mayo Clinic revealed that daily consumption of more than 8.5 ounces, 250 millimolars of beet juice can significantly increase oxalate levels in the urine, increasing the risk of stones in susceptible people. In addition, the pigments in beets, betalains, in large quantities, can overload the liver's detoxification system, especially in people with livers already compromised by medications, alcohol, or pre-existing liver disease. Another consequence of excessive consumption that few mention is beeturia, the elimination of these pigments through the urine, leaving it with a reddish color that can scare many people. Although generally harmless, this condition can hide important signs like urinary bleeding, leading to late diagnoses of more serious problems. Mary, a 45-year-old patient, showed up in the emergency room convinced she had severe internal bleeding after noticing her red urine. The panic only subsided when she discovered that the culprit was the quart of beet juice she had drunk that day as part of a detox she saw online. Ideal amount. For most healthy adults, the recommendation is to eat 1 medium beet, 3.5 ounces, 100 grams, 2 to 3 times a week, or a maximum of 6.7 ounces 200 ml of beet juice, preferably unstrained, on alternate days. For those with a history of kidney stones or liver problems, these amounts should be even more moderate and monitored by a healthcare professional. Have you ever noticed changes in the color of your urine after eating beets? How much of this vegetable do you usually eat per week? Mistake after 6. Ignoring possible drug interaction. Many people have no idea that this vegetable can interact significantly with several common medications, enhancing side effects or reducing their effectiveness. Beets, thanks to their high nitrate content that converts to nitric oxide in the body, can enhance the effect of erectile dysfunction medications like sildenafil, Viagra, tadalafil, Cialis, and vardenafil, Levitra. The combination can cause dangerous drops in blood pressure, leading to dizziness, fainting, and in extreme cases, serious cardiovascular events. Similarly, people who use antihypertensive medications should be cautious. Eating large amounts of beets can amplify the effect of these medications, causing hypotension, too low blood pressure. This is particularly important in the elderly, who already have a higher risk of falls associated with postural hypertension. I remember the case of Mr. Collins, 72, who fainted at home after taking his routine antihypertensive and, an hour later, drinking a large glass of beet juice. His blood pressure dropped to 80/50, a dangerously low level that could have caused serious consequences. Another group of medications that deserves attention are anticoagulants, as warfarin. The vitamin K present in beet greens can interfere with the action of these, reducing their effect and potentially increasing the risk of thromboembolic events. If you are continuously using any medication, the recommendation is clear. Talk to your doctor before regularly incorporating beets into your diet, especially in the form of juices or concentrated supplements. Do you take any medication regularly? Have you talked to your doctor about possible interaction with foods like beets? Mistake, surety 7. Incorrect storage destroys nutrient. Once cut, exposure to air drastically accelerates the oxidation of betalains and the loss of vitamin C. Studies show that in just 24 hours, a cut beet exposed to air can lose up to 40% of its antioxidant compounds. Another common mistake is washing beets before storing them. The additional moisture accelerates spoilage and bacterial growth, reducing not only shelf life but also nutritional quality. Temperature is also crucial. Storing beets in very warm places, like near the stove, accelerates enzymatic degradation of nitrate, precisely the compounds beneficial for cardiovascular health. On the other hand, freezing raw beets can significantly alter their texture and nutrient composition due to cell rupture from freezing. Andrea, a client dedicated to healthy eating, prepared all her juices for the week on Sunday and froze them in small portions. She didn't understand why she wasn't feeling the promised energy benefits from the beets until we discovered that her storage method was destroying much of the nutrients even before consumption. The correct way: store whole beets with the skin on, unwashed, in a cool, dark place, or in the vegetable crisper drawer of the refrigerator. Inside paper bags that allow some breathing, they can last up to 3 weeks this way. If you need to store cooked beets, keep them in airtight containers for a maximum of 3 days. To freeze, it's ideal to blanch them briefly beforehand, quickly cooling them in ice water and drying them well before. How do you usually store your beets? Have you noticed a difference in flavor or durability depending on the storage method? We've reached the end of this journey through the universe of this powerful ruby root. As we've seen, beets truly deserve their superfood status, but only when eaten correctly. Recapping what we learned today: avoid overcooking your beets and prefer methods like steaming or baking to preserve their nutrient. Never, ever discard the greens. They are true nutritional treasures, often more powerful than the root itself. Be careful with food combinations, avoiding mixing beets with dairy or adding sugars that negate their benefits. Remember that the time of consumption can make all the difference, especially for those prone to blood sugar fluctuations. And speaking of that, more doesn't mean better. Excessive consumption can overload the liver and kidneys, especially in people predisposed to kidney stones. If you take medications regularly, especially for high blood pressure or anticoagulants, talk to your doctor before regularly incorporating beets into your diet. And finally, take care of how you store this precious. Otherwise, you may be eating just a shadow of nutritional potential. By implementing these simple changes, you transform beets from a simple vegetable into a powerful ally for your cardiovascular health, energy, physical performance, and even for the prevention of chronic and degenerative diseases. And if you know someone who eats beets regularly or should eat them for their incredible benefit, share this video. This small gesture can make a huge difference in the health of those you love. Now I want to know, which of these mistakes were you making without realizing? And most importantly, which tip will you implement first in your routine? Leave it in the comments. If you enjoyed this information and want more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell to be notified about new videos. We're also on social media. The links are in the description below. Always remember, nutritional knowledge isn't for accumulating, it's for applying. True transformation happens when we move from information to action. This is Dr. Alexander King, and until the next video.